when I was 5 years old and I went to a museum and I asked my parents, "What is that?" And they said, "Oh, that's a painting that an artist did." And in my mind, I thought, I'm an artist. I remember. I always knew I was an artist. You know, I grew up in New York City, which was really lucky because I used to go to museums all the time. I went to Fashion Institute of Technology to study textile design, and I eventually became a wallpaper designer and did a lot of work in the textile trades. But eventually, I didn't want to be a commercial artist, and I wanted to make art.
If you like art and you like birds, there is a lot of kitsch out there. But if you really want serious art that's a little bit abstract, that's hard to find. So I went to Deborah's website and I was immediately in awe of how she was being inspired by bird migration patterns, but at the same time not making work that was directly representational. That to me was unusual.
I visited a friend here. And literally, when I went up the mountain and I came over the other side and I saw the lake, it was like, oh my God, I want to live here. It's very inspiring to live in Chapala. It's gorgeous. The weather's perfect all year. There's a lovely artist community. There's a lot going on culturally. Since we live right on the shores of a lake, we have tremendous amounts of bird life here, so I get to watch birds all the time. So living here in Chapala has really expanded my ability to do my work. Birds are a metaphor, and what's happening to the species of birds is a metaphor for what's happening to us. They refer to migration. And as a Jewish person, that has been a real theme in the history of my people. We have had to migrate from country to country in order to survive. So I feel some kind of a kinship with birds because their habitats are being reduced so extremely. We've lost about 50% of our bird species in the last 50 years. It's terrifying. We're destroying our planet. We're going to suffer from that. Nobody's thinking about that.
I saw that her work is the perfect balance of art that is aesthetically appealing, but it also has a socially conscious point.
Ella nos está expresando en sus obras que estamos a punto de perder nuestras aves, nuestra cultura. O sea, son cosas que debemos valorar y enseñarle también a nuestros hijos.
I've been working with feathers for at least 15 years now, but up until 2 years ago, all of my feathers were made with some form of textile. I come from a couple of generations of people who were sewers or clothing designers. Fiber, textile has just been part of my life since I'm a very young child. And then one day, I was looking at my work and I realized the work is good, the ideas are great, but they're not integrated. And developed all of these new kind of feathers, but it took me a year. We started to silkscreen, and now the feathers are fabricated out of fused plastic bags, which sounds a little strange, but actually has an embedded narrative that's related to the work because they refer to commodification and consumption and the kinds of problems that are causing the destruction of bird habitats. I am extremely fortunate to be here in Mexico. In the US, I would never be able to afford a studio like this. You know, this much space and such high ceilings and all this beautiful light. It's the first time in my whole life I've been able to completely devote myself to my work. And it's like a dream come true.
Todos los artistas tienen un proceso muy laborioso, pero el de Cobra me llamó mucho la atención, que el artista se involucra con otros personajes para poder generar todo el material que utiliza para su lenguaje plástico.
I feel like I got really lucky when I met Sandra, my assistant.
She's a very talented woman. She's extremely organized. And she keeps so many systems going in the studio. She manages the other women who work here, Mexican women who live in our neighborhood, who help me to produce the feathers. There's a lot of steps to making these feathers. We have a couple of women cutting plastic bags, fusing them, and then priming them. We organize ourselves into what colors are going to be printed on what sheets and what silk screen we're going to use. And again, it would be cool to try a dark blue.
Yeah, this is closer.
That would be a good option, as with this. Also, instead of there being abstract designs in the work, the images on the feathers are images of endangered birds, birds in migration, and increasingly we're overprinting with lists of endangered birds in English and Latin, and an excerpt of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, which is a very, very important book to the ecology movement. And then that gradually brought me to thinking about extinction of languages, so I have incorporated shorthand and Yiddish. And we have a new silk screen that we just started that has the critically endangered languages of Mexico. Then we have our screen printing process, and we print on both sides of each of the sheets that we produce. When that's dry, we take the sheets to a woman in the neighborhood who's a professional sewer, and she sews designs on the sheets. Because I'm creating with plastic instead of fabric, it's nice to reintroduce something that's textile and fiber. After we get the sheets and they're sewn, they come back to the studio, and we have a woman who takes a template and she sketches out the feathers that are in the template, and then she cuts them. So then we get boxes full of feathers. So now I have all of these boxes. You can see I just sorted boxes by color. You know, a painter would have a palette that would have, you know, yellow and red and all the colors, and then they would mix the colors and they would make a painting. These are my palette. I put every single feather up one at a time, because every single feather has to be in exactly the right relationship with the feathers around it. And it's kind of like being an acupuncturist. Like, you have to put every single needle in exactly the right place. I don't expect my work to change the world, but if I can help people think about this issue and do something or just become more aware, I'll feel like I have accomplished something to help the birds.
She conveys her voice, it's her ideas, it's her work, and it has a meaning, and it's really powerful, and I really like that, and I like to be part of it, and I like to learn from her.
Trabajar con un artista es más que un trabajo, es un orgullo estar con ella.
Siento que sí soy parte de estas obras. Me siento orgullosa porque nunca había trabajado con una extranjera. Parte de mí es eso.
This is a really special time in my life. I'm retired from my day job. I'm able to devote myself completely to my studio work. And because I have the staff and the help and the space and the light and the freedom, I'm able to do work that's only existed in my mind. So I'm very excited and privileged to be able to bring all my ideas into existence. So this feels like a really precious moment for me as an artist.